The Thing is a 1982 American science fiction horror film directed by John Carpenter and written by Bill Lancaster. It's based on the 1938 John Campbell Jr. novel Who Goes There? It tells the story of a group of American researchers in Antarctica who encounter the eponymous Thing, a parasitic extraterrestrial life form that assimilates then imitates other organisms. The group is overcome by paranoia and conflict as they learn that they can no longer trust each other and that any one of them could be the Thing. The film itself stars Kurt Russell as the team's helicopter pilot, R.J. MacReady. Now, when the film was released in 1982, it got so bad reviews. It was classed as instant garbage, and a film magazine at the time actually called it the worst film ever made. Now, going on from that, it is now classed as a cult classic. But back then it wasn't. Why? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about 10 things that could have made The Thing better. As you're here, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Also, please share it with your friends on social networking. This is a requested video. It was requested from someone from Facebook by the name of Jamie Simons, and so I hope you enjoy your video. And lastly, there is a spoiler warning in effect. You have been warned. Number 10. Better marketing. Yeah, Universal didn't really promote this film that much. Apart from the stereotypical normal trailer, that was it. And it was publicised very minimalistically. They didn't really get the word out about it. So they didn't help with the marketing. In fact, one of the biggest things they actually did to market this R-rated film was kids' toys. I'm not kidding. They made kids' toys for this film. I can understand Robocop, I can understand the kids' fascination, but The Thing, I personally don't see it. I mean, what drugs was the marketing department thinking of? Thinking about, let's make a kids' toy for this film. I mean, it went so bad, they made snow cone machines. Yep, what you see it in the Berry Telly, that is a snow cone machine for The Thing. Can anybody, please tell me in the comments how this makes sense. Number 9. Timing. So, as I said, this film was released in 1982. And unfortunately, 1982 was a year of awesome films. And unfortunately, this film came out in blockbuster season. It wasn't in the beginning, it was near the end. I mean, in 1982, by the time this film had come out, you had Mad Max 2, Poltergeist, Tron, Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. Hell, even E.T. had only been out for a few weeks by the time this film was released. And that's not the worst of them all. When it comes to timing, this film was released on the same day as Blade Runner. That was a big mistake. Now, if they had literally held off for about 6 months, released the film in September, October time, most of the blockbusters are out the way, it could have done so much more, but you put it then no, I don't understand why you put it against Blade Runner. Harrison Ford and Ridley Scott, that is a money winner. This only had John Carpenter and Kurt Russell. Cannot compete with Ridley Scott and Harrison Ford. No matter how good this film is, they have bigger star power, I'm afraid. Number 8. Black and white. So we're on to the third point in this list, and same again, this is squarely at Universal's feet. The people who made this film actually wanted to make this film in black and white. However, Universal went, no, this is studio interference at its best. The reason why they said no, it's because it would affect the chance of their TV distribution rights. Not many people would want to buy rights to a black and white film. So they said no. However, the makers of this film were actually a little bit ingenious. Most of this film is quite bland or dull colours, and it was done on purpose. Now obviously there's colours here, there and everywhere, but the set design is all grey, dull, because they lost out and they weren't allowed to do a black and white film. 10 out of 10 for the filmmakers. Sorry studio, you're getting that. This whole point is at your feet. Number 7. More psychological. Now, no matter how good this film actually is, it did miss a trick. If they had eased back on the creature and kept the creature to one side off camera, you could have actually used this film to delve so much more into the human psyche. Now I know this film actually did go into like people's paranoia, what can make them turn, but it could have been so much more. Now, those sort of films today are quite popular, but this could have been ahead of its time. I mean, the film was ahead of its time, but it could have been so much more psychological, really bring out psychology of the human mind, really delve into what makes people tick. Now, if become a famous director and I was offered to remake this, that's what I would do. It's been done before, not on big screen. I'm a Doctor Who fan. Doctor Who Series 4, an episode called Midnight. You don't see the bad guy at all. It takes over someone's body and you watch all these people trapped on a bus turn on each other. Something like that. There was also an episode of Star Trek Enterprise where they're trapped in a cave and how quickly they turned on each other because of the paranoia. These sci-fi shows can do it. This film could have done it as well. Number 6. Overworked FX. Now, the special effects, especially the creature effects, were created by somebody by the name of Rob Bottas, who at the time was only 21 when he created all these amazing creature effects. He did go on to be nominated for an Academy Award, and he's been described as a special effects wizard, genius in fact, and it's quite rightly deserved, especially what he did with this film. However, all the work he did for this film came at a cost, and it's no one else to blame. It's actually his own fault. He put so much time and effort into this film. He wouldn't let anyone help him. He actually wanted to be involved in every little bit. He didn't actually go home. He slept in the Universal Studio lots and in their locker rooms, and it came at a cost of being hospitalised. He was hospitalised for exhaustion, double pneumonia, and a bleeding ulcer. Now, no matter how much you love your craft, it's not worth your life. And this guy pushed it to the extreme. So much so they had to get Stan Winston to come in and help him out. So now Stan Winston didn't really get credited, but still, when you have to call someone, anyone, lucky you got Stan Winston really, but is it worth your life? Especially when the effects were that good? It's a toss-up, but I would still have to say no. Number 5, more claustrophobic. So this film's set in Antarctica, in the South Pole, where it's really cold, in a makeshift camp. Okay, that's fine, and I get that, and I know that's quite believable. But the one thing that isn't believable is how nice and neat the campsite, the base is. Let's face it, if that was a real base, you would have had pipes here, hanging off the ceiling, wires and cables everywhere. It wouldn't have been clear straight walls where you know the cables are hidden in the wall. It wouldn't have been like that. And the best thing is, if you had put that realism in this film, it would have made it more claustrophobic. Now think about it, this sort of film would thrive on that claustrophobic. It's thriving anyway on all the emotions and the distrust that's in this film, but adding that claustrophobic as well, that would have taken it to a whole new level. Number 4, costumes. Once again, we're in the Antarctic. It's cold. So what do the cast wear? Jeans and jackets. No, seriously. Especially for the first half of the film, they're wearing jeans and jackets. It's the South Pole. You would not get very far wearing jeans and jackets. You would have to be wearing thermals through and through the whole time. Now later on in the film, as it gets dark and there's a storm approaching, yes, they start wearing thermal jackets with the hoods and the gut, but it should have been like that from the beginning, not jeans and jackets. I don't buy it. Number 3, not a flying saucer. So at the very beginning of this film, a spaceship's coming to Earth, and the actual special effects for that spaceship is actually quite impressive. It's even more impressive, as I found out. It was only made in 24 hours, and that's what they did. I'm actually in awe of that. Except, why did it have to be a flying saucer? The flying saucers died out in the 50s. I mean, we had the Millennium Falcon, X-Wings, TIE Fighters. Oh, the Enterprise, not flying saucers. So why do we have to have a flying saucer? Any other shape, please. That's so 1950s. I mean, this was the 80s. It's the 21st century now. Unless it's a comedy, no to flying saucers. Number 2, shooting. So yeah, Norwegians shooting rifles at a dog. and they're missing every single time. How? I mean, there's quite a few times the dog's right in front of them and they missed. I mean, I am going to ignore the whole I've dropped a hand grenade thing. We'll ignore that for now. But still, come off it. Especially if you turn out later on, bullets don't kill the thing. It wouldn't have hurt having a couple of shots hit that dog. It'd been quite impressive. Oh, they just kept missing. No, they were missing by miles. No, I'm not buying it. Number 1, ending. Let's face it, John Carpenter, I've said it before, he's a legend, he's a master of the craft, and one thing he does brilliantly is cliffhangers, and I am a huge sucker for cliffhangers. And this film is no exception. It does have a big, good cliffhanger. It brings out the paranoia. You've got Charles, you've got McGregor facing off each other. The end of your film, is one of them a thing? Is both of them a thing? Are they both human? You don't know, and that's the thing. They don't know. And it's a brilliant ending, except for one thing. It ruins McGregor's heroism. Throughout this entire film, from beginning to end, it's been building up. McGregor is a hero. He has that hero's trait. He's the lead of the film, and he is actually building up to being a hero. Now, at the end, he's like, oh, I've got no energy left for this. No, you have just ruined his whole arc throughout this film. Change it slightly. Have them both standing off a Mexican standoff. The distrust isn't there. The paranoia is there. But you've kept his heroism alive as well. It's a best of both worlds scenario on that. But no, you went for this. We're just going to sit here and die. Now, if you've read up on the sequel that was in pre-production, which didn't happen, it started off that they were both human and they just both froze to death. No, it didn't. No. It just ruins what you built up. Final thoughts. A lot of the issues that this film has is because it is out of its time. If this film came out 10, maybe 20 years later, it would have been heralded as a masterpiece upon release. Unfortunately, it came out at a time where people didn't really get what the thing was trying to be, and as a result, it suffered. Now, later on, when people actually started thinking about it and watching the film for what it was, that's when its popularity grew. But at the time, it wasn't ready. It wasn't right. Now, that's not to say it's a bad film. In fact, it's quite a good film to a certain extent. I mean, there were some good aspects. The visual effects were amazing. And that's the one thing this film got praised by everybody, was its special effects. And its characterizations, yes, they were okay. I'm not going to say that. Bad about that. The music, now, apart from the fact, and I did write this down as I was watching the film, is it seems to be copying Alien. And to start with, I didn't like it, but I got into when I was getting into the film, actually that music worked. It does work. It builds out the suspense. It brings out the tension. My biggest issue with this film, though, unfortunately, is it sometimes I kept losing interest. My mind kept wandering. It didn't keep me hooked from start to end. There were some in between where it just lulled and I lost interest. It didn't keep me hooked. That being said, there was one thing I loved about this film. It doesn't happen very often. Is normally in films they follow the same formula. Something happens, bad guy, good guy fights, bad guy comes out on top, good guy recoups, comes back, good guy wins. That's a stereotypical film, but that's not what happens in this film. It's good guy burns the thing comes back. Good guy burns the thing, it comes back. And that's what it kept doing every single time. But the good guys' numbers are dwindling as further and further down. So you actually start to think, hang on, this thing might actually win. And you still get that impression right at the end of the film, which is fantastic. It's very different. It's a shame my interest kept waning every now and again. So how many berries am I going to rank this film? Well, because it is a good film, just my interest kept wandering every now and again, like people watching my videos happen quite a lot. I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. Good film, it was just missing that keep it all the way through. But what did you think? What are your thoughts on this film? Am I being too harsh on this film? What would you rank this film? Please leave them in the comments below, and I would love to read and ask some more questions about your opinions on this film. On to next week, we're going to jump back into a live action Disney film, but it's not a remake. Find out next Sunday, 6 o'clock. Bye bye.